Welcome to the Live Action Star Wars Presents Data Link. I'm James.
I'm Ralph.
And today we are talking about the entirety of the animated series Star Wars Rebels. We're going to start with episode 1 and we're going to go through until the very end. So, strap in, bear with.
I don't think I have that kind of time.
No, probably not. I don't think I've got that kind of voice.
It's 77 episodes?
Something like that, yeah.
Which is a good number.
Yeah, it's totally manageable.
But yeah, I finished watching the rewatch last night.
Nice.
And it's funny, like when we started this show, I'm like, okay, let's cover Star Wars. There's too many cartoons. There's too many seasons of Clone Wars. There's too many episodes. So let's not worry about the cartoons. We're only going to worry about the live action stuff, and then we can get into weird things that are beyond just the 11 movies.
Yeah.
So it's not a thing where I hate the cartoons. It's just I don't want to have the responsibility of covering every single one of them. So
and I don't think either of us would claim to be experts in the Clone Wars in particular. It's
not at all.
I've watched it through. I've watched it through a couple of times, but I don't. There are times when I'll be watching it and I'm just like, oh yeah, that happened. I think I can't place episodes in seasons and stuff like that. So it's just it's great. I enjoy it. When it's on, I'll watch it. When I want to just throw on a cartoon, it's generally what I'll go to is something like that. But yeah, 77 episodes of Rebels though. I love this.
It's a whole different story.
This is great. I'm not done with my rewatch yet. We probably won't be done before Ahsoka, but I've seen it all through a few times. Liz is watching it and she's got to the point now where she's so hooked in on the characters that we're not skipping over odd episodes. She's like, no, I just want to watch it all now. I'll catch up with Ahsoka. I won't watch it live with you, sort of thing.
Okay.
She's just going to watch it a little bit later.
So I was going to say there'll be some spoilers for her, I'm sure.
I mean, she's already asked the question because we watched the end of season 2 of Rebels. We saw the Twilight of the Apprentice stuff with Ahsoka's quote unquote death, and she got to that and she's like, wait, but isn't the Ahsoka series set after all of this? And I was like, yeah, it is. So and I'm sure.
That's the one thing with the trailer for Ahsoka is they show Thrawn.
They show Thrawn. She's only just met Thrawn where we are in our rewatch.
Yeah.
We're about.
But Thrawn and Ezra are so left up in the air. At
Completely.
the end of the series that it's like, oh well, that's kind of a spoiler unless it's a flashback. But I think they say Thrawn's returned.
Oh no, Thrawn's back
in the trailer.
I mean, they said that in Mando season 2. Ahsoka's looking for Thrawn there, so it's 100% forward, all forward. I mean, there might be some flashback stuff. I hope that there is. That'd be kind of cool because Ahsoka's had a long history at this point, but I don't expect the Thrawn and Ezra stuff to be flashback.
Right. Yeah, because we get some overlap. Rewatching the final episode yesterday, we get some overlap, which is cool. Sabine standing in front of the wall, the mural.
And then Ahsoka arriving and basically saying, let's go. We're going to see that. The internet, I hate the internet and people who just want to find things to complain because already there are so many people just be like, why isn't she wearing white? Why doesn't she have a staff? It's like, it's a different thing. They can change some stuff like that. It's the most minor thing. It's like, you people weren't alive in 97 to complain about this, were you? I
like canon, okay, but I mean, holy cow, it doesn't have to be like this airtight thing. It's impossible.
Yeah, it really is. And when it makes more sense. Like they've got a story now. I think that was just an idea, probably. They're like, hey, maybe at the end of all this, Ahsoka and Sabine go out and they're trying to find Ezra.
Yeah.
No more detail than that. But like in the years
like
since,
Jeff Johns did his Green Lantern run from like 2005 to like, I don't know, like 2012 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
And it brought the character sort of into the sort of public consciousness, and it's the reason why there was a Green Lantern movie. It clearly didn't live up to what Jeff Johns was doing in the comics, but at the end of his run, he decided to skip ahead however many years and tell the ending of everybody's story.
Oh, that's great. I don't think I ever finished that run.
So it's one of those things where like the last issue is like maybe Hal Jordan has died, Guy Gardner's retired, Kyle Rayner's still doing his thing, and like it's all this stuff. And he mentions that there's a new Earth Lantern now named Jessica Cruz, and he just left it like this is in the future sometime. This is the end.
Yep.
And it's kind of like Lost with a Flash sideways, where it's like, hey, all this stuff happens after everybody dies.
Yeah.
It could be 100 years in the future. It could be in 2 weeks. Who knows? Exactly.
It doesn't matter. Like when it is,
but ultimately this is the epilogue. And so with this ending of the last episode of Rebels, where it's Sabine essentially telling the story of where everybody ended.
It's an exact mirror of the beginning of the show. Yeah.
And it's just a thing where it's like they were wrapping up a series. They were saying goodbye to these characters, and they left them all in a specific spot.
Yep.
And who knew? Like I think Disney acquired, or Rebels was going while Disney acquired.
It was the first Disney thing. It was the first Disney release. So Clone Wars was still going. They ended Clone Wars essentially with that because they didn't know how they were going to work it. And then they announced
because it was Disney XD was that's right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like they didn't know they were going to revisit these characters.
I don't think they planned to. I think it was an idea in Dave Filoni's head. He's like, let's leave the door open a little bit, like not even open, just ajar, just so that maybe one day, if the time is right, if the story is right, if it's there, if there's enough people that want it, we can come back to it. But it wasn't open as in terms of a gaping hole in plot and stuff. It was all nicely wrapped up. We got that epilogue where you see everyone. You see Callus is like he's helping the Lasats like rehome and things like that.
I haven't seen Rebels since it came out. We had Disney XD through my work, and then at one point, no, it's the other way around.
I work through Disney XD.
I purchased them. No, I purchased them on iTunes. Okay. And then when I started working at Disney again, I had a Disney XD account free through my employer. So we'd watched them through as they were coming out, and then I don't think I've revisited it since. So watching the final episode answered a lot of questions that I had in the Ahsoka trailer.
Yeah.
Like I didn't remember that Sabine ended up with Ezra's lightsaber.
Yep.
The
message, the like he left her message. Yeah.
The message. I'm like, oh, she's still like, I don't know. This takes place apparently like after the original trilogy. So it's been a while that she's been revisiting this message.
Oh yeah. This is around the same time as like Mando.
The series does the time jump. The series in her retelling of what happened after Ezra disappeared. Spoilers. She then picks up after the original trilogy and what happened after, because of mention Endor.
Based on things that we've seen in the trailer, it looks like there's a chance that Sabine went back and she's on Lothal. She's feeling like she needs to be there for Ezra, to be basically his, like, to protect Lothal for him.
Yeah.
And then maybe she's tried, like the New Republic or something tries to bring her back into the fight. She refuses it. It's the call to adventure, isn't it? It's the classic call to adventure. She refuses the call, but then something's gonna bring her back in.
And I'm wondering why Ahsoka's there, and I can't wait to find out.
I can't wait to find out. I don't even really want to speculate too much because we're a week away. Like we're gonna get it.
Right. That's crazy.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
We should say hi to some people because there are some people here in the live chat that are here for the first time. All of the Hold On Maneuver podcast are here. Looking forward to this episode. Sarah is here. Lucha Johnny's here. Jeremy Kelly's here. I'm
going to be on Lucha Johnny's show tomorrow.
Yeah.
For those of you watching this live, I'm going to be on Geek the Fuck Out. I think they say Geek the F Out, but what?
We're over 10 minutes in. We're not going to get flagged.
Here's the thing. They approached me to do their logo. I did their logo. Mm-hmm. They wanted it was Geek the Fuck Out, but they wanted the UCK crossed out. So it was Geek the F Out. And I made it where I just took out the U because I thought aesthetically it looked better. And they probably still say Geek the F Out. Yeah. But I mean, go for it.
We all know.
Yeah. Just go for it. But I'll be on there tomorrow talking about the Lost documentary. And in September, while we're covering Ahsoka, Johnny and Kayla from Geek the F Out will be joining us on an episode of Ahsoka, which is exciting.
That's great. Yeah, we got some really fun guests lined up for the Ahsoka season as it's coming. I think we've already said that next week we've got
Eddie Pence.
We've got Eddie. Yeah, Eddie back. Eddie's back. He's doing 2
episodes. Starting at 9. We'll be starting at 9 Pacific time.
Yep.
That way we'll be able to have time to watch both episodes, and Eddie can get Colton to high school. He's in high school now.
It's crazy.
So
it's good stuff. And I'm off and don't need to worry about time. So if anyone's watching from the UK, that'd be I think 5 p.m. But keep an eye on the socials for that. Stevie's here, and then joining us for the first time for a live show is Tarora. Tahara. We are gonna butcher your name. Apologies. But thank you for joining us for the first time. That's really great. Dartharian is also here and awake in time. That's good.
That's great.
It's early.
That's early.
So, yeah,
you'll be awake in next week. You should be awake in time. Hopefully, you can wake up early and watch both episodes.
We got a little bit of time. Yeah, those 9 o'clock starts West Coast time. They're handy. So this show, I'm
mad at these guys. They effed up my stream yesterday.
Yeah, we don't need to thank them today.
Yeah. All right. We love you guys. Yeah. Thanks, StreamYard.
This show, when you first started watching it, were you watching it live as it was coming out?
Yeah. I watched I think I bought there was like the movie.
They bought the movie
on
like 3
iTunes.
episodes or whatever. Yeah, that first
the Spark of the Rebellion or whatever it's called. I watched it live, and the only reason I got hooked because I'm like, what is this, Aladdin? Like,
it's very, very, very Aladdin at the beginning.
I'm like, and I don't like Aladdin. I can't stand. I can't stand the movie Aladdin. But I started recognizing those Ralph McQuarrie designs.
Mm-hmm.
And when the TIE fighters exploded, they exploded in the sparks.
Yep.
Like Star Wars, like 77 Star Wars. And I'm like, and then you see Zeb and you're like, oh, that's like a prototype Chewbacca. I'm like,
and the ghost is even like, that's a design that had been used before. Like all of it. The build up to this show, when we're getting artwork, we're getting trailers, we're getting announcements of characters and designs and things like that. That was all in the last few months that I was working at the comic book shop. So I was sort of steeped in it. I left that summer before the show started. And so I was seeing all of this stuff, and I just remembered talking to people, and they were sort of showing like TIE fighter designs, and everyone was like, oh, I don't like it. I don't like the art style that they're using for this. It looks trashy. It looks like really cheap. I was like, no. Like, this is based on that. It's hyper colored, like over the top of the design aesthetic of the Macquarie drawings. Like it's meant to invoke that. And if you grew
even
up
the stormtroopers kind of have that elongated face.
Yeah, like, it looks like they could have a shield and a lightsaber, like the old Macquarie designs and stuff like that. And they then started incorporating a lot of the toy stuff. So I think it's in one of the very early episodes we get like the troop carrier,
the troop transport.
Yeah. And this show probably more than the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars was using that stuff's era. It started bringing back in those old things that were there if you know it, but it wasn't essential. It wasn't like you have to know this stuff to understand what it is. You just get it.
It's like Han Solo's white vest at the beginning of Solo.
Yeah,
like it's like, oh, that I've seen that. I think it's a Macquarie.
Yeah, it must be
designed for the vest, and they made it in white, and it looks like paper, like his paper drawing, white and gray. Yeah, the Macquarie stuff got me. And then, so, okay, I've been listening to the Star Wars Minute. They're doing a weekend show where Alex is rewatching Rebels and Pete is watching Rebels for the first time.
Yep.
And everybody's been telling him, for years, dude, you got to try Rebels. And so he's finally checking it out, and he's going through, and he's saying all the same stuff like we were saying years ago, and he's kind of bought into everything now. He doesn't like Chopper yet. I'm sure that he's starting to come around on it.
Yeah,
he just started coming around on Loft Cats. I think they're just finishing up season 1.
I mean,
but like Jeremy, just the mentions of the Macquarie stuff, mentioning the TIE fighter designs and stuff, it's all like it's hitting him. It's starting to hit him, and it's funny because rewatching it felt a little slow, but now I'm like, it takes just a little bit, not as much time as Clone Wars. Clone Wars takes like 2 seasons or something, or the end of season 1, where you're
a movie like and 2 seasons
getting into it. Yeah. But this, you get like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 episodes in, and it starts picking up.
They drop in nuggets, like just enough to sort of start building it. Jeremy Kelly saying almost exactly the same thing here. It took about half a season to get into it, but after that it was smooth sailing. And I feel like that is the thing. Like, it's a cartoon. It was on Disney XD. Its target audience is kids, so that's fine. And so you've got the cutesy things, but then it will drop in just enough of a thing. So you'll get R2 and 3PO quite early on. You'll get Lando like within that first season. Like all of these things that is like Leia's season 1 or 2. Like, and then as you go forward, it starts digging deeper and deeper and deeper into everything else that's happening. So by the time you're in season 3, maybe even season 2. Which is when Rogue One was coming out, because this started in 2014. Christmas 2015 we get Force Awakens. 2016 we get Rogue One. So going up to Rogue One, you knew that we had Saw Gerrera coming back, and so they were like, well, time frame wise, we can include Saw Gerrera in this show, and they start to put him in there. He's in there 2 or 3 times, and
it's funny, you can tell when Rogue One. Like when you rewatch these, you can tell when Rogue One happened, because you start getting the Death Troopers, you start getting
mentions of Krennic,
like Scarif, Krennic, everything. Kyber crystals. I think Kyber crystals come on a little bit earlier.
I think they're quite early.
They start really, really getting into like, oh, they're transporting gigantic Kyber crystals.
But it's also like time frame wise, it's getting closer and closer and closer. Because I can't remember it's obviously it's before Rogue One, but I think it's 5 years before it starts, 5 years before A New Hope, and then it ends maybe 2 or 3 years before. And so you are creeping closer and closer to that original trilogy time frame, like the Battle of Yavin, 0 ABY.
And then last week watching Rogue One and just hearing them over the loudspeaker, General Syndulla, they're calling General Syndulla, which
see Chopper roll by,
because always stood out to me, because I'm a fan and stuff. But watching it last time, it really stood out because I'm so like in the middle of like Rebels. So like it just what's funny is sometimes I forget what the time frame is on this because we're watching Ahsoka trailers and
watching a live action series
but
set, then covering a movie.
I keep forgetting that it takes place before Star Wars until the Rogue One stuff happens, and it's like, oh yeah, this is definitely in that time frame. And
I mean,
you get Tarkin and stuff, and
the show's called Rebels, so I was excited because I was like, I love the Rebellion. I was expecting some Rebel Alliance stuff, but that first season stays so small. Like we leave Lothal, but we always like Lothal was the base of operations. It's 100% that is their sort of home hub.
Right. What I like about it too is the crew of the Ghost, like, are really in the shadows and really doing the small things to help the rebellion, so that by the time you watch the original trilogy, you're not questioning where they are because they're so like below the radar.
They're ghosts. Like they're Spectre 1 through 6. You know, it's like
that's like the perfect and Filoni probably got that from doing the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars was happening like after they made Episode 3. Or around the time
started in 2008.
He's probably like, man, we've really built up this Ahsoka character, and people are going to wonder where she is in the movies.
Well, I mean, that was his conversation that he had with Dave Filoni. He had this Padawan character, and that's why he loves Plo Koon. He wanted it to be. It was originally like designed to be Plo Koon's Padawan and stuff. And then George was like, no, it's going to be Anakin and Obi-Wan leading the show probably a lot of the time. So make it Anakin's Padawan. And Dave was like, Anakin doesn't have a Padawan. And Lucas was just like, yeah, he does. Why not?
Yeah.
And so it's like,
he doesn't care about the canon. He's like, we can fix it later.
Yeah. And that's what they did. They were like, if the show goes long enough, we'll figure out a way of dealing with why we don't see or hear from her. And then Rex as well, because Rex becomes such a big character, which is what makes that closing arc of season 7, which was only a couple of years ago, so satisfying, because those are the two leads of that show for like a lot of it. And to see their story close out perfectly in that way is great.
But it's probably the reason why Filoni made these characters so sort of behind the scenes in the rebellion, so we don't
it's by design. You don't have to include them by the time. You don't have to insert them into things. I read the A New Dawn book, which was the first of the canon novels to come out in the lead up to this. I bought that on a vacation. I think I bought it in Walmart because it came out while I was in the States, and I read it like that holiday and on the plane home and stuff. And that was all Kanan centric. It's the meeting of Kanan and Hera, and you find out that he was Caleb Dune, this Jedi Padawan. He was Depa Billabba's Padawan, and that he survived Order 66. And at that point, he's a drunk. He's a pirate, like not a pirate, but like a scoundrel. Like he doesn't give a crap about any of it. He's way more Han Solo than Luke Skywalker or anything. He has no real qualms about just messing people over just to get the job done. Whereas Hera is an idealist. She's got this ship. She's not part of the rebellion, but she's got these ideals, and that they obviously form a friendship. It's spotty at first, but then they come together, and by the end of the book, they are a couple essentially. And so from that, I always just knew that they were together. This show doesn't, like, again, it's a show for kids, so they don't want to turn off like young boys by just being like, and there's a romance, but it's like it's there throughout the whole thing, but it's never overt until the end when they do like finally on-screen kiss. And it's one of those things where it's like, I think that's a really nice choice, because you don't ever, there's never a make-up breakup having to do that sort of story. They will bicker, they will disagree, but they are the mum and dad of that group. And it just makes the Ghost crew such a family, like all the way through, like from the beginning. The Zeb and Ezra relationship is very big brother, little brother. They care about each other. They will save each other. but they will fight all the time.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
Yeah, I think by the time the series ends, I think that Sabine might be my favorite character.
100%. By
And it takes a
midway through
while for
season
her.
3, yeah.
Yeah, it takes a while for them to sort of get into her character. And
Mm-hmm.
again, like I never really cared about Mandalorians. It was never my thing. Even in the Clone Wars, it seems so I don't know how to describe it. Like it's too fantasy based, too
It's quite Lord of the Rings.
knights.
It's quite Game of Thronesy. Is the
Right.
way
It's a
with the
lot.
clans and the families and yeah.
But the way they set it up in this, it's like she doesn't like it either.
No.
She's not into it either.
The old ways. She's like they don't work.
It might be season 3 or 4 or season 3 where they start finally getting into Sabine.
Because where we're at now in our watch.
She's just like a sassy teen.
Yep. She's a graffiti punk teen. Like
and an explosives expert.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of it.
Yep.
I feel like Zeb is sort of the same way. He's just the muscle. And I don't really think he got his sort of spotlight that any of the other characters did.
I think there's two or three episodes that I can think of where they do focus, but that's over the course of the show. There's the one where they find the other Lasats and they find Lasan, like a new Lasan for them, a new home. But then you hear about his history, and then there's an episode with what's his name? Mutton Chops. I said it earlier. Callus, Agent Callus. Where they have their moment in a cave together, basically. And
the enemy mine.
Yeah.
Brought up again in the sort of epilogue that Sabine's talking about, where Zeb introduces Callus to those other.
And you can see it with Callus as such a good character, such a well-rounded character right from the beginning, when he's kind of like the B antagonist, aside from like the Grand Inquisitor in that first season. It's Callus is there like every episode. He's the one who's the foil as opposed to the big villain. And you see with his like rifle that he's very similar to the Lasat thing. He's that for the Empire.
Right.
So yeah, it's a really good juxtaposition between those two characters.
Yeah. But with Sabine, they really got into her parents, her whole relationship with Mandalore. They get into her having the Darksaber and training with the Darksaber. Getting rid of the Darksaber, learning with Kanan, like all the stuff they really started getting into her character, and she became this really cool kind of anchor for the rest of the crew. She kind of came into her own. She seemed more involved in the plans and in kind of, I don't know. I feel like the reason she was there is to be sort of Ezra's infatuation. And it's like this show doesn't need that. No. This show is about this family and their relationship as it moves forward. And even by the end, I feel like she actually, I don't know if it's a romantic love, but she loves Ezra, because at the beginning, the whole thing is them bickering.
Yeah,
you know,
well, it's because he definitely fancies her. Like right from the beginning, he's into her. But she's like, "All right, little boy, like go away, whatever." Like,
but what was great is they started putting them together as a team. Like I like towards the end there, they were always in their biker scout outfits together, going on missions together, and it was never about romance. Yeah, and it wasn't about romance. It was about working together as a team. And I don't know how the Ahsoka series is going to start with her. Is she obsessed about Ezra because he's a friend, or does she love him? How does that work?
I think that if depending on if they find Ezra early or late, or even in this season at all, or if they've got another season planned, I think they'll get into that, because I don't think either of them know really how they feel about each other. Like, obviously there's a connection there, but is it a romantic connection, or is it like something else? And they'll get that. They'll figure that out.
It's like Cassian Andor and Jyn Erso. It's like there's scenes when they're in the elevator going down to the beach where they're just kind of like not they're really close to each other. There's no kiss or anything like that.
They're sort of like just relying on each other.
It's like you just have this sort of mutual experience of being in this rebellion and being in all these battles and all these stressful situations, and you have someone there that you can trust to be your support system. And again, it can lead to being romantic, but also it doesn't need to be. And that's what I like about that relationship, which clearly started as we're going to try to do this, will they, won't they, relationship. Whereas you have Kanan and Hera, who it's like, oh, they will and they have. But it's like, we're not going to bring it up. It's not necessary. We don't need, like, not everything needs to be that. Stevie says, like the movie Speed. People starting relationships under
in
extreme
high pressure.
Yeah. Allison's here. Hey, Allison. How's it going? I think I'm going to try to get on Allison's channel to promote the movie. Allison has a YouTube channel where she does coloring books and talks while coloring pages. And we're trying to think of a way to get on there. And I can color, I guess. It's not my favorite thing, but maybe I can. We can figure out a way to do that.
Sounds good.
But it's I you know, Star Wars is kind of famous for not really having relationships
or female characters that can do like much more, you know, than that, which is why I think Sabine is such a good character, because they start giving her the depth, and it is yes, there is that relationship with all of the Ghost crew. I think having her step away from the series for a little while, like for a half a season or whatever it is really good, because it's like when she's not there, they're missing her, we're missing her, and they're going, oh, we're not like all together. We're like, this works. This group works. It's greater than the sum of its parts, sort of thing. It's they are so much better and stronger together. Tristan mentioned it earlier. Her dark parts. She is responsible for so much of why Mandalore is the way Mandalore is.
Right.
Which
she created the device
weapons. So she built super weapons. Like it's dark. It is very and it makes
her story so much better. I'm sorry, than anything in The Mandalorian.
I agree.
It really is. Like, it made me. She's like my favorite Mandalorian, and I find her to be really, as much as I like Bo-Katan, she's really the only Mandalorian that interests me.
I think I like Bo-Katan a lot because of her, like because I know all about her relationship with Sabine and all of the stuff in this. I prefer Bo-Katan in this series than I did in Rebels. I prefer it than I do in Mandalorian. But I enjoy seeing her in Mandalorian because of this. It's because of that connection that we already have to her from this. I was a bit disappointed when the show first started that they weren't rebels. They weren't part of the Rebel Alliance. But then when I started to like watch it more, and you realize that there is no Rebel Alliance at this point. There are
also,
rebels.
It helps with a Rogue One. With Rogue One, it's like they tell you, like, it's not a Rebel Alliance. It's a bunch of factions of rebels.
Yeah.
And you need that alliance in order for it to work. Yeah. You need the Saw Gerreras and the Bail Organas and the Mon Mothmas to come together. Luthen, who knows where that dude is?
Well, Luthen Rail is the one who's trying to like. He's the go-between between all these groups. It seems like he's essentially another Fulcrum. Like he's one of those types of agents. Like they just maybe hadn't named it at that point with him. Ahsoka, Bail Organa, they've got their connection, and she was another part of that. Whereas they are all trying to be a connection, and obviously Hera throughout season 1 is in contact with Ahsoka, with Fulcrum. But it's at the end of season 1 when it starts to link up, and then we get the introduction of the rest of the alliance. We get the Commander Sato, who's brilliant. Love that as a side character. He gets some really good stuff to do. And when you start building the alliance, you can start doing the episodes like the beginning of season 3 when they get the Gold Squadron Y-wing bombers. And it's like, no, they're not part of Phoenix Group. We're not using them for Phoenix Group. They're going to General Dodonna's faction that he's in control of. Yeah,
I've been cynical, especially in like Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian, about the whole Dave Filoni verse and Dave Filoni pulling in his characters from Clone Wars into Rebels and Rebels into Mandalorian, and just it's like, oh my gosh, it's like Bad Batch and stuff, where I'm just like, it's the Dave Filoni character of the week, and I'm pretty cynical about it. And I think when I first saw it and Ahsoka came into the picture, I'm like, of course he's got to put his girl Ahsoka in it. And then I realized if there's anybody who would be part of the Rebel Alliance, who would be anti-Empire, anti-establishment, it would be her.
She was anti-Jedi. Like by the end of it, she was like, "Fuck you guys, I don't want to pay heart this." She was already,
which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, no, it's not. She's right. Like Ahsoka is right to walk away. Like they are the cause of their own destruction to a large extent.
And even Yoda admits that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a big fan of the design of Yoda in this series when he pops up.
He looks real goofy. He
looks super goofy, but I like when he shows up because the way that they use the character and the way that he talks to Ahsoka or Ezra, it's poignant. It makes sense at those times. It's used sparingly as well, which I think is key.
Yeah. Everybody's used sparingly. Pretty much like Tarkin, maybe 3 episodes, 4 episodes.
But when he pops up, you know that some shit's going to go down.
Yeah. Vader used very well.
Season 2. Most of a lot of season 2.
Yeah.
But
I like that listen, Vader's busy. He doesn't have time to deal with this kind of stuff. He's dealing with Tarkin, the Death Star. He's dealing with hunting down Jedi with Inquisitors and stuff. Like that's the thing that drives me nuts sometimes about Star Wars and people showing up in other like crossover projects, is like, the universe is so big. Darth Vader can't be a threat every single time, all the time.
But it makes so much sense when he is in this, because it's when Ahsoka is in this and she becomes more and more a part of the Phoenix Squad group. Like she's with them a lot more in season 2 and only in season 2. So you start seeing her going, oh, hang on, I felt something from that guy.
Yeah.
And
that
she,
is so
when
good.
she goes off in between, like for a few episodes, and she's like, I've got some things to figure out. I need to go and investigate some stuff privately that is very personal. And then she'll pop up and Vader will pop up around the same time. And it's like, they build to Twilight of the Apprentice so well that it's such a satisfying episode for them. And then you get the Darth Maul like surprise in that episode. Like I was expecting Ahsoka and Vader and the Anakin of it all, but I wasn't expecting anything with Maul coming in. And again, character used brilliantly in this show.
Yeah. Because he was killed off too soon.
Yep.
And everybody loved the character, got killed off. Brought back in Clone Wars. As
mixed reception.
I'm sure just to be like, people loved him and we kind of axed him pretty soon.
Yep.
But
you used well through the rest of it though. Him. Like I enjoyed the way they did that.
Once
they didn't get to finish
the
his
spider
story.
legs and the him being crazy and all of this stuff. Once you're used to the fact that he's just alive, his use in this show is like pretty pitch perfect.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's use in this series is pitch perfect.
One episode, isn't it?
One episode.
Just
one episode.
So good.
But this is like Filoni's way to sort of bridge the gap between the Clone Wars and episode 4, which, who knew what you would have, how many opportunities you have to revisit this time period.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
And
Obi-Wan,
Sam Witwer's performance as a different version of Maul as well. Like we've seen Darth Maul the stoic, like the Peter Serafinovich voiced version in episode 1. The stoic, he's a weapon. He's used as a weapon. That's all he is. Then we see him come back and he's crazy, and it's Witwer and he's playing him crazy, and then he's hardened, and then he's a crime boss. And then in this, he starts off as like this. He's the anti-Yoda. He's played like Yoda for Ezra.
Yeah.
Where he's the old master. And then by the end of that episode, we know that he's Maul, but he's still kind of crazy. He's still obsessed. And it's the obsession that he has. And then as soon as he finds out or figures out by bringing those holocrons together that Obi-Wan is alive, the twin sons thing, and then leading through that, he's an obsessed, deranged character, but excellent. Love it.
So well done. And like Filoni taking the opportunity to be like, this is the best time to do this, because you couldn't do it in Clone Wars. And I mean, you could have done it in Clone Wars, but
he can't be around for the original trilogy. Obi-Wan would you'd think would have taken care of things by then.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And also now having had Obi-Wan come out, like this is after the Obi-Wan and Vader confrontation. He's on Tatooine, and it's a case of you've come here now. Like he's gonna stay and he's gonna look after Luke, but if any problems come here, I think he would have been willing to sacrifice himself in the process of taking out Maul or anyone else to save Luke. But it's like, you came to the turf, you're close. And then they have a conversation. The way that they do that final fight is so...
It's amazing.
It's elegant is the best way to say it, I think. Like it's
like what, 5 seconds?
I mean, the fight, the actual thing is Obi-Wan goes through 3 stances. He has his Padawan episode 1 stance, then his fingers out, his hello there, Clone Wars thing.
Yeah.
And then he moves into or no, does he start with Qui-Gon's like up here?
He does it. He finishes. Maul tries to kill him the same way he killed Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
And he counters the way Qui-Gon should have, but didn't.
Yeah.
And he's probably played that incident in his head over and over and over every single day for however many years, 15 years. And as soon as Maul pulled that out, he's like, nope.
And it's a different Maul,
been in my head.
They fight a few times throughout the Clone Wars. Like there's a couple of really good fights between them. But at that point, Maul is, again, he's a weapon and he's hyper into it, and he's got Savage Press with him a lot of the time. So it's Obi-Wan is overpowered by it a lot of the time. And
you keep mentioning that Maul is a weapon, and I like that. That's sort of his motivation in Rebels, is he feels like he was used. He feels like, and he'll do anything to
he doesn't care about the Sith. He's not a Sith anymore. Like he's stepped away in the same way that Ahsoka stepped away. They are parallel characters. Wait, he didn't step away. He was sort of shoved away down a shaft, but like, sort of similar.
He was cast aside.
Yeah. He was discarded
because Palpatine will just move on.
That's the Sith way. Like, if an apprentice
he must
dies,
have gotten
he wasn't strong enough.
Dooku immediately, and then once Dooku was out of the picture, he's like, "Oh yeah, that's Anakin kids.
Yeah,
I got this Anakin kid to get rid of." He's like, keeps on like upgrading his henchmen,
and he's doing it all the way through to Rise of Skywalker. Like he's kind of pitting Rey and Ben against each other. It's like, well, whichever one of you comes out on top. Yeah. It's the sort of the Sith rule of 2 way, if that's what.
But I like that Maul was trying to get Ezra to go over to the dark side, just kind of mentioning like, using the hypnosis kind of like, I'll give you the things you want, but ultimately it was so that Maul could use Ezra to get at, I think, Palpatine, right? Essentially, he's trying to be
at that point. I think he's all about Obi-Wan, because it's when he brings those holocrons together. that he gets the twin sons. Ezra doesn't know what that means, but Ezra becomes obsessed with it as well. Like but in a different way. He's trying to figure out what that means because he feels responsible for that.
Yeah.
Whereas Maul, he's like, he lives. Happy, happy, happy. I'm going to go and kill him. And then doesn't. But yeah, the conversation about it. Because I mean, Maul also like killed the love of Obi-Wan's life in front of him, like right in his arms. So there is that. Like Maul's the cause of a lot of Obi-Wan's pain.
Right.
Yeah.
But I like him. I definitely like him more in Rebels.
Definitely. I don't think it was really until because I dropped off of Clone Wars. I didn't finish Clone Wars until like a lot later. And it wasn't like I'd seen him return, and it was at that point-ish that I was like, I can't keep up with all this. And then I watched him through Rebels, and I was like, oh, this is excellent. This is done really, really well. I want to see what else there was. What else did I miss? Because people did start loving it. Yeah, it's done very well. We talked about it. I know you're not the biggest fan of two things in this show. We in mine and Liz's watch through, we've just got to the Bendu.
Yeah.
And I know that's one of the things that you're not a fan of. I was always a bit indifferent to, and I was a bit like, I don't really. But watching it through now, this time around, I don't know what it is. It might just be experiencing it with someone who's newer to the show and not as heaped in Star Wars as we are. Like, so it doesn't feel as out of place, I think, to Liz.
I feel like when there's big things like that, like big swings, like why haven't we seen that before?
Yeah.
It's such a crazy concept. Why haven't we seen anything like that before?
Or any reference to.
So there's that. Right. I like the Lothwolves a lot more.
I think they're great.
Because they are sort of tied to Lothal.
There's the animals throughout this show are used excellently.
And the other thing is the World Between Worlds, which I thought it was a much bigger part of the story than it is. It's like in one episode.
I think two episodes is introduced and then it's like paid off in the next one. Yeah.
So the introduction, can I talk about that introduction episode? It's Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yep.
And
a bit of Indiana Jones in there.
The music, I'm like, oh, that's Close Encounters. I told Steve that's Close Encounters music. And then at one point, Ezra says, "This means something," which is a famous line from Close Encounters. They go into the pit where they excavated the wall and have the mural up, but all the light stands in that area look like the Devil's Tower base camp. And apparently I looked it up, and apparently there's something over the loudspeakers that is also said in Close Encounters.
Oh, great.
Oh, okay.
It's
So I'm like, okay, I'm cool with this episode. I like the animation of the mural and the way it's like traditional two-dimensional animation, and they have kind of a choppy look to it, the way they move on the cave walls and stuff, and the wolves, like the zoetrope of the wolves running in circles and stuff. I like that stuff. It's all mystical shit, but I'm like, it's still really cool looking, and I like this idea.
And it also
and
goes
I like him going in
as well. Like,
I like him going into this area of the Force. I don't like that it could be time travel.
Yeah.
I like the World Between Worlds. I like that you can see different moments in time. I don't like that you can manipulate into those.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, just that little bit, because this time I was fine with it a lot more, because I was under the impression that I remembered that it was like a whole season worth of shit with World Between Worlds, but it's just the one episode. So I was kind of cool with it. I really like the design of it, and I like that it's Close Encounters.
Yeah.
And then there's like the episode where it's like Jaws.
Yeah.
They use music from Jaws when they're getting the sand.
The Clone Wars. It's and even like the jaw on the front of the old clones. It's the Orca. Like, it's 100%. And the music is it's that weirdly whimsical bit of Jaws that everyone thinks of the Jaws theme, like the but there's some nice like fun Jaws music as well. Like it's
exactly. When
they
they're hunting the fish and the barrels, it's like the barrel music,
and they use that sort of stuff. I love that episode.
Sounds like
big fan.
It sounds like people were stoked on Bendu.
Yeah.
Allison says it's easy for her because she read a lot about like early drafts of Star Wars, like
the Jedi Bendu and things.
Yeah, the Journal of the Wills. It's a lot. Like that's something that you sort of take a swing in animation.
Yeah.
The Purrgil, I think, is one of those things where it's like we'll try giant space whales, and I love them. I feel like maybe Bendu might have been more polarizing than Purrgil, and so Purrgil are going to make it into Mandalorian. And
I think Bendu he served his purpose. I think he served his purpose in the show.
It might be the design.
The design and the voice, the way they use Tom Baker's voice is interesting. Like the synth that they put on it, the aesthetic. I think it's really interesting. I love the light side, the dark side. I'm the one in the middle, and his delivery of the I'm the one in the middle is excellent. And that's such a cool concept. He is like neutral. He's true neutral sort of thing. He's only gets involved at the end when it's like, no, you don't fuck with me. And he was very Treebird. It's very similar to that.
But I like the wolves so much. I think they serve a similar purpose, and they're kind of silent, but you can tell they're doing like a Chewbacca thing where the person like Ezra interacting with them, he understands what they're saying and lets the audience know what they're saying. And it's a little more, I feel, mystical, and it feels more in line with a living energy field that, flows through everybody. Bendu is
a bit more
character, like so it was just a little bit tough to take. I don't think we'll see him.
I don't think he'll ever be seen again.
I think it was a concept for sure.
He was a master for Ahsoka, for Kanan. Like Ahsoka knights Kanan, which is really nice. Not sure she could do that as someone who stepped away from the Order, but it's a nice moment for him.
She almost doesn't care about the religion enough to just be like, yeah, sure, here you go.
Yeah, fuck it, like whatever. Yeah. But for him, it was that was his Yoda training moment. Like he'd gone to his darkest place, and Bendu, the training that he gets through that is like basically giving him his sight back, but in a different way. So that when he gets to the point where he's like connecting with the wolves and the sacrifice that he makes at the end, I don't think he would have been there without his training with Bendu. It might not have been. They could have done it a different way that you'd have preferred, but this watch through,
like it could have been a Force Ghost Ithorian.
Sure.
Like
It would have been like something like that. That could have served the same purpose. But this watch through, I'm definitely enjoying Bendu more than I had previously.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it more this time around, but I was already bracing for the worst, and I was like, oh, it's actually not that bad.
It's not. No. And it's again, he pops up in like 4 episodes tops. World Between Worlds for me, I love everything that you said about that you enjoyed. I like the aesthetic when you're in there. I think that it looks really nice. I am still, and I haven't got there yet in my watch through. I'm still undecided how I feel about being able to manipulate time stuff.
Yeah, I don't like it. Again, why wouldn't it have been done earlier?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't Ahsoka use it to stop Anakin? Why wouldn't
I don't? Again, it's that whole thing of like no one else got there, but it's a case of, well, hell, how do you bring back Ezra? How do you save Ezra going forward? Having that be there, he's been in, he's experienced it. Ahsoka's alive in current, quote unquote, current timeline, like post Jedi stuff, and so Ezra's out there somewhere. So when those two are around, you would start to think, well, hang on, could you not go back and kill baby Hitler? Like, can't you just go back to Naboo at 45 BBY and just kill Palpatine then? Like.
I just wish it wasn't introduced. Like, I wish it wasn't introduced because
it's that thing with any time travel, isn't it? It's once it's there, you can't undo it. Yeah. I don't know. I'll check back in. I'll let you know when I watch it through again this time.
One of the other things too is in that mural of the three sort of guardians.
The mother, the father, and the son, isn't it? From the Mortis arc of
but they all have their hands are in different positions. One's this, and one's sideways.
Yeah.
Also from Close Encounters.
Yeah, it's
the hand signals they give for the 5 tones, and then the alien comes out and does the thing. So yeah, it's like totally like I had to have picked up on it last time, but I mean, when was the finale? Probably around 2017,
18 maybe
at the latest.
Latest, yeah, so, 17 or 18. Yeah,
it's been a while. I had to have noticed it back then, but yeah, there's just like a ton of references to Close Encounters, which is my favorite Spielberg movie. Not a popular.
Jaws might be mine, but though they're both amazing.
And like Raiders, I like Raiders too.
Yeah.
Not Hook, never Hook.
But again, there's a connection to Hook because Dante Basco is in both shows. Dante Basco is Rufio, and he is in this. He's the kid on Lothal who they befriend really early, and then he comes back and he's in that last arc. He's one of like the people that they
go back
with
to Mart. Mart.
Yeah, something like that. And he's Prince Zuko, and he'll forever be Prince Zuko in Avatar. Dante Basco is great. Love Dante Basco. Always nice to hear his voice in things. What about the voice actors? As we're talking about some voice actors in this,
all terrific.
They are, aren't they? Yep.
It's gonna be really hard to watch the series without hearing their voices.
Yep.
It's okay.
I don't mind Rosario Dawson playing live action Ahsoka. Like, that's great. I think it's good casting. If we get any Kanan flashback, it's gotta be Freddie Prinze Jr. It's gotta be.
It's gotta be him. It has to 100% be him.
Yeah, and I mean, he's such a big Star Wars fan that I think he'd be like, no, it's going to be me, surely.
Probably a big Kanan fan.
I'd imagine so, yeah. Like, and Sam Witwer's a massive fan of everything that he's done, and he's done a bunch of voices. They're good friends as well, which I think is fun.
I will at least hear Kanan voice.
I'd love to. Yeah. I mean, if we do get to see Jason Syndulla, like, look, Hera's got to mention. We need a mention of Kanan at very, very least.
I still don't know about Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera.
I love her as an actress. I think she's great, but it does look a little different.
It's her, but I'm so familiar with her, and I'm so familiar with the voice performance on the series that I'm really trying to. I really need to see the series to get them to feel like one character. Rosario Dawson was really easy for me to get into that.
And that's no discredit to Ashley Eckstein either, because she's fantastic as Ahsoka and has been for so many years.
Right.
And I think will continue to be. I think they'll always use Ashley whenever there's any animation.
It's the Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn thing.
Yeah.
Like, she's not doing the same voice that we grew up with in the cartoons, but it's like it's still
very much a Harley voice. Yeah, definitely.
So that's what I'm hoping with Hera in this.
When you've got a full CG character like Zeb, I don't know how much Zeb's going to be in this show, but we saw him in Mando. That's Steve Bloom. You can put in the voice. You can just make it one for one.
Which he was in Mandalorian.
Mando season 3. Yeah. And Stevie, I mean, who isn't really into Rosario Dawson? She's great. Anyone else that we might see? We still really hope that Eddie Pence gets cast as Callus at some point down the line.
Probably might be too late.
Might be this season.
Telling us,
and he might just not be telling us. Yeah, I mean, this is when Callus is in this episode, and he's like, "Surprise, guys! You get the exclusive." One day.
I can tell you this, and nothing against the animators, nothing against really anything. Just the animation itself, the character animation drives me up the wall. It was the same in the Clone Wars. I don't want to. I just want to bring it up because it's something I noticed. I don't know. I just the way they move is so animated when they're just having a conversation. Like I'm having a conversation with you. I'm fairly animated. I get fired up.
I know I am.
But it's constantly these movements where the shoulders are constantly going, and I'm like, would you guys please? Like when you're not talking, you're like listening, and it's like if you just track the shoulders on these characters as they talk, it drives me nuts. So now you have to deal with that. Just pay attention.
Now I'm gonna see it. Yeah.
But design wise, it's got that really cool sort of when they get really close up on the characters, it has like a soft sort of paper, kind of like pastel or colored pencil look to it, which I really like. The backgrounds have a nice watercolor look to it.
Yeah,
and it's really I like the design and I like the look of it. I feel just the characters are overly animated. The walk cycles are crazy. Everything is so the gestures are pretty wild. But I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's something that studies said that kids, if they're going to pay attention, need to see constant movement from people.
It could be like the fact that it may be something that was like Disney XD, but like, no, if we're going to be doing this, it needs to be animated to a certain like way.
Amp up the movement so you know how characters feel.
Yeah.
You really want to put emphasis on certain words, so you move their heading close to the screen and stuff. Who knows what the reason is? But,
and it's one of those things that
it's super distracting to me.
As the show grows over 4 seasons, it's amazing the tonal change that they go through over 4 seasons. But their first episode, they're stealing Meiluron fruit, like which is. It's so low stakes, and they're Aladdin, they're Robin Hood, they're all of that, and that's all they're doing. And then by the end of season 4, they are fighting for a planet, the same planet, and they're dealing with major loss and all these big things. It's the animation does stay similar in that for the rest of it. It is interesting.
Shoulders down if you're sad.
Yeah. Oh,
it just might be a way to help
you can do it with someone like Zeb because he's an alien and he's an alien that we've not seen before. You can overemphasize things with someone like that, but when it's humans and things, it's a little different. I mean, even Chopper with his little arms, like again, off-putting as hell at first. He is a very overly animated character. But he becomes endearing after a while. I think.
There's a point where it's fun to figure out what he's saying, and the way the characters react to him. You know, he's giving sass, and they're giving it right back.
He's the most vocal of any droid, even more than R2 and 3PO. Like I think he's.
And I think he swears the most.
Absolutely swears the most. Yeah, and then they call it out as well. I think like they would be like, "Hey, what's your language?" Like, yeah. Is there anyone other than say like the main Ghost crew from this show that you hope to pop up? That is because Tristan here, he's saying that he needs a certain pirate to make an appearance. A certain pirate that I'm kind of shocked hasn't appeared in any live action yet, other than actual live action because
the park.
He is at the park.
But at the park, when he's on the screen, it's an actor in the makeup.
Right. Oh, okay.
Like when you're in the Falcon. So we have seen him as in makeup as a person portraying him. I can't think of anybody I'd really want to see. I can't think of her name. Kate Blanchett, the fake.
She's in the Thrawn book as well. The straight hair.
I can't think of her name. You guys are going to tell us in the chat. But I mean, we see her explode in that ship, but you never know who comes back. She's there. The screen goes white, like a wipe. Price. The screen goes white and kind of does a wipe across her face as the thing is exploding.
She's got a fascinating story in the first of Tim Zan's Thrawn books from like canon. She's introduced, and there's a character in that, I think probably in all 3 of those books, who is almost certainly going to be in the show. It's basically Thrawn's right-hand man in that, not Pelion, who's the ship captain, who gets name-checked in this show, which I was a big fan of at the very end. It's like Captain Pelion makes sure the Chimera is whatever, like, which leads back to Heir to the Empire and everything. Man. But Governor Price is introduced in those books, and the book follows Thrawn and her, and it's her rising up through the ranks, and she's cutthroat. She's ruthless. She'll screw over anyone to get to a high position. She'd be a really cool character to include. I think, and I hope that we do get some of the other people like Pelion, the Chimera as a ship.
Callus.
Callus would be great. Again, Callus and Zeb, I just don't know if they're going to be in this show too much.
Can we get Wedge? Wedge is on the show. You recast, right? You have to.
At that point, do you?
Because it's only 5 years after.
Yeah. He's going to look a lot more
Jedi.
Yeah, you could recast, and then that could be our casting for Rogue Squadron.
Well, that's long gone, right? That's Rogue Squadron.
They were talking about it recently in the same way that they were talking about the Lando show, where it's like you find the right person and the right people to work on it, and it will come back. Yeah. One day. But either way, like Lando has interacted with Hera in the video game in Star Wars Squadrons. Hera is in that a lot, and it's her and Wedge who are sort of send you out on missions as the sort of the starship captains. So having her talking to Wedge when they're talking about, right, we need to send these guys out into the fight, who can we use, who we need to, that'd be a great show.
I just got big news.
Oh, you got a little echoey there. Oh, crowdfunding.
I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, the Lost documentary, Getting Lost, that Ralph has been working on for the past couple of years, there was a crowdfunding campaign that went live yesterday. So if you're watching this and you
it's been going really well.
Yeah.
Somebody just got the highest tier, which is the executive producer tier, which is $10,000.
That's incredible.
That is huge.
We're wrapping up now anyway, so like I feel like
right, but I'm really curious to see who it is.
People in the chat, while you're looking that up, Jamie Kelly and Dartharian both saying exactly what I have said before, which is Rogue Squadron, just Top Gun Maverick, just that's how you can do that film. Like, just we've said it on this in the past. Just reskin Top Gun Maverick as Rogue Squadron, and that's perfect. I'd lose my shit. You all know that I'd lose my shit if Wedge is in this show. It would become my instant favorite thing ever. But it's got the potential to already be that. Andor is out there, so I don't know if we're going to be able to top it, but yeah.
Taylor just said sorry to bomb your live stream because he's watching.
Oh, great. Hey, Taylor.
It's been
That's amazing.
Like yesterday was just huge for us.
Yeah, I bet.
Like we've been working on this for. He called me about 2 years ago, as of November, to do this project, and we've been working on it for a while. And there's been ups and downs as far as news about Lost and things that we're doing. And the last couple weeks after Comic-Con, when we were deciding to do the Indiegogo, it's just been like, what do you like? This is uncharted territory. Everything about this is uncharted territory. We got to a place where like producing was like, I was comfortable calling myself a producer. I was comfortable reaching out to people, being on the phone with people, scheduling people and getting things done with Taylor and Emily on the movie. And then this is leading up to this Indiegogo. It's like, big, huge question marks. Like, what do you you don't know. It's going to be out of our hands, and we're relying on Lost fans. And like, are there a lot of Lost fans out there? And if not, if this Indiegogo thing's a big flop, is Matthew Fox going to see that and go, oh no, I'll never be in that movie? Those guys can't even blank. And the outpouring of support that we've gotten, it has just been insane. It's been literally a day and a couple hours since we've gone, and we're at 86% funded.
That's incredible.
In a day. And we set this thing to go to September 22nd. And so now what's going on is I see this contribution to the page, and I'm like, oh no, I got to get artwork to Taylor and Emily that says funded, stretch goals, and new perks coming soon. And it's like, it's always something. It's always something. And last night I was like, it's like late at night, I had a long day. I was like, I was relaxing, finished watching Rebels. I like just took a shower, got ready for bed, and was like looking there. I'm like, oh, we got data link in the morning. So like I jumped on and I did the post for the data link, and I'm like, it's there's always stuff going on, and it's just been like this just crazy wild ride. I have a stream tonight with Jack at the Ramblecast.
Oh, amazing!
I'm streaming with Lucha Johnny tomorrow. Him and Kayla on Geek the F Out. Friday, for those of you who are Lost fans, Jay and Jack are firing up the old Lost podcast feed. Like there's like cool stuff happening. I'm meeting new people. People are like, hey, do you want me on my podcast? We have like 15 subscribers. Absolutely. Because A, that's one of the Lost numbers, and B, if you have 15 Lost friends, one of them might become an executive producer.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's been wild, and I'm sorry to derail the show, but
not at all. I was just going to say,
apologizes as well.
Not in the slight, guys. You do not need to apologize. I'm going to make the executive decision right now. We're going to wrap this up. We've talked about Rebels. I think we've said everything that we're going to say. All we're doing is just rambling because we love it. It's so
best
much.
Star Wars. It's one of the probably, if I were to rank it in the movies,
yeah.
It'd probably be like 4,
3 or 4. I think yeah, it's up there. I'm doing this so that you can go and enjoy this moment. Like
I've already enjoyed it. It's like like I said, I have to go do some work. But
also take 10 minutes, just chill, relax, enjoy it, soak it in, and then get on and do the rest of the stuff, because I
got some work.
There's never any rest. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for everyone who is also contributing to that campaign. It means, like, I'm not a part of this at all, but other than a fan. A fan and a much lower tier backer than this guy or whoever this was. That's amazing.
I don't recognize the name, but
no. Hey, how cool is that though? Because that means that they really want to support the project, like more than anything else.
It really makes us feel good, like the fact that there's people out there supporting. There's so many places you can spend your money. There's so many much more worthy causes out there that could probably use your support more than we do. And the fact that people in this day and age care about it enough to do it is astounding to me. Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so happy, and I'm so excited to see it. So thank you everyone for joining us. We are going to be back next week with Eddie Pence at
Ahsoka.
9. Yeah, Ahsoka. Which
9 o'clock Pacific time. Yeah.
9 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. 5 p.m. UK. Figure it out from that. Keep an eye on the socials.
If you go to YouTube,
never mind.
And you click on the live stream, hit the notification, but it'll tell you in your time zone what time we start.
Same with the Instagram posts. Instagram very kindly does it automatically. It sort of adjusts for wherever you are. So it's always good for that. That's a nice way of following it.
We have new Star Wars in in less than a week.
Less than a week. It's so exciting, and it's new Star Wars that it's new
Old
as
friends.
well. It's not another season of the same thing that we've seen before, other than the fact that it feels like a new season of
old
this
friends.
show.
I like that it's old friends.
Yeah, me too.
I'm actually looking forward to revisiting those Filoni characters.
Isn't that great?
Isn't
that great? Thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you next week. We've also got some exciting stuff coming up a little bit later on, probably in between or in the middle of that season, maybe at the end of it. We will see you next week. Ralph, go and enjoy. But in the meantime, don't give in to hate.
Celebrate the love.
Rebels is rules.